Boom. Hello, everybody. I am Terry Foster, and welcome to the Lions Weekly Update. And I am honored. No. Stop it. I don't have people here. I'm honored to have the lefty over here, Matthew Earl Broder III. Welcome.
Thank you. And a new show and a new middle name that we've added.
Yeah, you're going to have a different middle name all the time.
That's fine.
And over here, the clown, Sean Belizean, joined us. Good morning.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. You kidding me? What else would I be doing on a Sunday morning?
Smoking meat.
Well, yeah, there's legitimacy to that. I can do that in an hour and a half, though.
Okay, but we're going to come here. Well, I don't know if these guys are going to show up, but this is a weekly show, Sunday morning. And finally, and I want to give credit to Detroit Kool-Aid, who convinced management, the Lions are a year-round topic. 100%. The NFL is a year-round topic.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here we are.
Isn't it funny, Terry? Guys like us, you started to put the pieces together maybe about, 15 years ago? I think, in the media across the board, everybody said, you know what the NFL's trying to do? They're trying to own the calendar. Not football season. They're trying to own the calendar. And you can say 15 years later, mission accomplished. It's the king by a mile.
Now, the closest thing I got into an argument with a guy who said the NFL is not a 12-month a year league.
Right.
It's 11 months. That's close enough.
Yeah. I think there are a couple little gaps that if you want to be that guy, you could say maybe a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. But the NFL is king. That changed in our lifetime. Broder, believe it or not, there was a time where baseball was number one. There was. There really was.
Wasn't it called like America's Pastime?
America's Pastime.
Yeah.
Now it's America's pastime.
Yeah. Well, it's coming back a little bit. I'll fight for it. No, the NFL rules all. You're right. It dominates the calendar now 12 months out of the year with the draft, with free agency, with the combine. All this stuff the Mel Kipers of the world have been building up over the last couple decades. It's a 12-month-a-year season. They even play on Christmas now.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, here's what we're going to – the NBA used to own Christmas. Remember that? Yeah. I was old enough to remember that. Now, we're going to do something called Fast Topics. In the first segment, we're just going to roll through stuff.
Let's do it.
Now, the very first topic, I'm hoping that people in the chat, if there's anyone in the chat, I want you to vote on this first question. Now, here's what I hear from people. Man, Lions window for the Super Bowl is closed. And I'm like, really? It's opened. So I want you to answer the question. Is the Lions window for Super Bowl closed now because they didn't sign the defensive end that you wanted, because the coordinators left, blah blah blah? You just go through the list, laundry list.
I can't believe that we're laughing over here next to you, T-Foss. That this is a legitimate question because people do think the Super Bowl window is closed. I'll give you my direct answer real quick. No, it's not closed. In fact, it's just beginning. It's just opening.
Okay. There's some sane people out there. What about you, young man?
I will agree with Broder, and I will say this, part of the reason why this window is still open is because Brad Holmes is really good at playing chess and looking the move ahead, okay? And when you talk about who might be available in the first round, well, there's a reason why you hear interior linemen. Because it's not so much for what he might do this year, guys. It's what he might do for the next few years, because there are going to be some changes. So this is a guy that is in the process of not only focused on this season, but focused on looking ahead at the same time. And when you take a look at the core of this team and the youth still of the core of this team, I don't know how any living, breathing organism could say that this window is closed. It doesn't make sense to me. But
I don't know what the man has to do to convince some folks, not everybody, that he's a hell of a GM. I mean, I would put him in the Hall of Fame now for this one reason. The Lions were the most embarrassing franchise in sports history. We forget that. Now, they're good. Now they can compete for a Super Bowl. Now they accumulate talent. Now they have a culture which for decades they were trying to create and didn't do it. And I tell you, during my time as a journalist, I'd want to do a story about Lions culture. And every time I brought that up, the player I wanted to interview will walk away from me. Like, nah, bro, we ain't talking about that. Get the hell away from me. Now they got it.
It's real. Terry, I can't tell you how many times there's one moment that sticks out in my head. 2018, 2019, Lomas and I were walking out of the locker room. It was early November. And making the walk back to the car, fellas. And I'm not joking. It was like you were at a funeral. It really was. It was like you were at a funeral. And like Lomas and I looked at each other. You didn't have to say it, but we said it anyways. We were like, we have 2 more months of this. Yeah. 2 more months, right? It was like that more times than you could shake a stick at. When something went south, Terry, it was like the whole franchise just went zoop. Everybody in unison just went whoop and took a bow, and they were out for the season. Those days are so gone. It's absurd.
Remember the I-75 eyes?
Oh, that's real.
Wait, what are those?
It's real.
Teach me, guys.
People,
the
probably
I-75
around
eyes?
November, the players had their eyes on I-75 because that's how you got the hell out of Detroit.
Got it.
And the other thing, and I wish I'd written about this more, November, December, you know what you saw in the locker room? U-Haul boxes. Because we about to go home.
That's
We're
what
tired of this.
Travel agents knew the Lions players were calling them in December to start planning their January and February vacations.
Yeah, the golf courses were filled.
Yeah.
In Cancun and all the places. But I got to get something off my chest. Here's what I hear most from fans out there about my interaction with the Lions. T, why are you so high on the Lions now? For so many years, you dogged them. You said they were no good. All right, here's why. Because they were no good. And me, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what I think. Just because you thought they were going to win 14, 15 games and they didn't, doesn't mean I thought the same thing was going to happen. The Lions were an embarrassing franchise. So why do I build them up now? Because they're good. Because it's a good franchise. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. I'm not going to tell you a team is good when I know they're not. That's not my job. And I'll never do that to you. So that's why I think the Lions.
I've always approached it like, Terry, when I was doing my job, you're a journalist and I respect that. I've always approached it like, listen, I'm a big fan and I'm never going to hide it, okay? And I would tell people, do you think I want to sit here and talk about 5-11? Do you think that I want to sit there and talk about all the silly things that Rod Marinelli says after press conferences? Hey, man, you know what I want to do? I want to break down all the dumb things Rod Marinelli did. It's Monday. Let's go. No, you know what? I want to talk about the things that we've been able to talk about the last couple of years. And, Terry, with that in mind, man, you hit the nail on top of the head. Do you know how great it is to talk about the Lions winning games? Watching somebody else go, this was a popular term, the Lions went Lions. I watch teams go Lions every week. I watch them do stupid things. I watch them take stupid penalties. I watch their quarterback and coach collectively forget how to count time. Okay? I mean, Thanksgiving, it was funny. I looked at my son and I said, okay, this is weird, man. It's like the Bears stole the Lions uniforms, but they still look like the Bears because we've seen that crap so many times in our life. And I think maybe, just maybe, Terry, it's for the guys that have been around for a while, it's more of an impact for us, this culture shock, because it's culture shock. What this franchise was and what this franchise is, my arms won't reach that.
No.
Here's a silly thing. Jim Caldwell couldn't tell time, but he wore 3 watches.
Couldn't do it.
Lions coach. Now, who was it? Bobby Ross that went womp, 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 womp.
The chart. Abandoned ship. Womp, womp, womp.
Right. So there's all kinds of stuff. So the reason I don't dog the Lions now is because I actually believe in them. Their Super Bowl window is not closed, so that's why I did a 180 on the Lions.
I think one of the things, Broder, that has always annoyed me, and I've been joking about it with Neil when I sit in and Big D from 11 to 1. There's something that happens this time of year. We get so wrapped up in emotion, right, that people forget, okay, you didn't get your guy, right? So the first step with that is, hey, fella, I'm with you. You didn't get your guy. You're upset. Do you know there's something called the NFL draft?
Oh.
Yeah, and then, of course, if you follow the tea leaves, let's say they take an IOL. Let's say they take an interior alignment. I cannot believe how dumb Brad Holmes is. How could he not get that edge rusher? Everybody knows we need an edge rusher. Listen, I'm going to tell you a secret. You ready? There's a day 2 of the draft. Oh, there is. Shh, don't tell me.
There is.
You can get 2 and even more picks in day 2.
Wow.
And it's like one of those. It's like one of
When
those
did they start
commercials,
that?
like one of those Ginsu knife commercials. But if you act now, wait, there's more. There's a day 3 of a draft, and as Terry pointed out, Terry, this is what rests my spirit. Brad Holmes has shown he knows what the hell he's doing. Okay, and would I be happy if they didn't grab an edge early? Nah, but he has enough credit line now where if he decides, God forbid, until the 4th round, nah, you know what? There's a guy we've kind of had a circle around. I don't know, kind of like that wide receiver named Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, him.
Yeah. There's a guy that we have a circle on that we knew we could wait for that we think is a perfect fit for our franchise. And that's the cachet that he's built up, T.
It is, but every year, people just disintegrate this guy about his draft.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs, people went ape shit when he picked Jahmyr Gibbs
At 12. And he wanted to at 6.
I was one of them. I admit.
Okay,
I confess.
How about this? You brought up Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aleem McNeil, and I can name about 20 names, but I'll give you 5 or 6. Those guys, Aiden Hutchinson, J-Mo, Laporta, Kirby Joseph, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, and Penei Sewell. What do all those guys have in common? They're 25 years old or younger. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about the Super Bowl window closing? Not with those guys. That's the core of your team, 25 years and younger. And I see Stick in the chat, so he's going to like this. You got a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl before. He's got to prove some more things to Detroit fans. He's got to win more in the playoffs. But you have your quarterback, and you have all of these young pieces around him. We're just getting started here in Detroit, guys.
no,
We're just getting
I
started.
agree, but there is a way that we view football that's really screwed up. The last thing we see is a lot of fans, media, whatever. The last thing we see is what this team is all about. But in our minds, for instance, they won 15 games, but so what? The last thing we saw was that loss to the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
So that's who the Lions are. That's the way we view football, and it's kind of messed up. I don't know. They still won 15 games, right, with an injury-depleted roster.
Nothing like it. All those injuries, there's nothing like it, Terry.
Now, the last time I checked, Mother Nature heals wounds. Like if I break my finger, it'll heal. If I break my leg, Aiden Hutchinson, it will heal. I saw a video of Aiden Hutchinson running.
I never thought it'd happen again.
I'm ready to slap the check on him right now. How much do you want?
But you know what's funny? And I think the flip side to that is, again, we as fans get so emotional when we lost to San Francisco, when the Lions lost to San Francisco. Remember what Dan Campbell came out and said? Dan Campbell came out and said the truth, and people killed him for it. People don't like the truth. He said, guys, it's not that easy. And it's not. And we found that out last year. Even with all the success, okay? Mm-hmm. Even with 15 wins, even with that unbelievable game against the Vikings, where honestly, T, you bring up the Washington game. It's like, do people remember just a couple weeks earlier, there was that complete disassembling of the Vikings with a JV squad, and we embarrassed them, and we emasculated them, and those are the things that people forget. But even with all those successes, okay, it's not easy because of injury. It's not easy because of a hot team. It's not easy because of a Jaden Daniels. And so I think, Terry, in that regard, a lot of times is you hear things like that, and you just got to remember, it's you can still have your window open and not win. The Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills window's been open for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
6 years, right? I'm not saying it's closed. If you want to say that it's closing, we can have that conversation. But I think they're proof positive. I think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens are proof positive of you can have it all. You can have seemingly everything and still not find a way to win. And that's, I think that was the message Dan Campbell was trying to say.
Yeah, but what I'm hearing, nobody from the AFC is going to go to the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs, windows closed.
Is it? Damn
Buffalo Bills, windows closed. Baltimore Ravens can never make it because of Lamar Jackson. Miami is never going to get there because their quarterback can't stay healthy. So next year when we have a Super Bowl, there will be an NFC team there with no AFC team there because their windows are closed.
Right.
So how can you say the Lions' window is closed? And I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah, it's out there. I don't get it. And Terry, you and I had front row seats for so much of those disasters. I think back to I call it the decade of despair. I mean, I think about from the time that Matt Millen came in and even until after he left. You want to see what a bad franchise was in every way, shape, or form. Terry, the stuff that we saw growing up, even before guys like you and I were in the media, we thought that was bad. But then, I mean, it became a complete clown show with this franchise. And so maybe we're looking at it a different lens, T. I know what bad looks like.
Yeah,
this isn't bad.
I know what bad looks like, but I don't understand why people had so much hope for a bad franchise. And now the franchise is like a real NFL franchise. First sign of adversity, they're done.
I don't get it.
You hear they lost their coordinator, so they're not going to be able to play offense or defense this year. You know, like they can't replace them.
Oh, you know who lost their coordinators?
Oh,
Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah.
They went to the Super Bowl.
Odd.
So it's possible to rehire other people. And they knew those guys were going to leave. And so you're grooming other people or you got your feelers out for other people to take over.
Back in the 90s, okay, the Lions and the Cowboys were supposed to be the two teams of the decade,
Yeah.
okay? And Pat Summerall, I think we're looking at the two teams of the 90s, okay? Obviously, we know Detroit didn't anything. You know Dallas, I often bring this up, Terry, to your point, okay? Dallas lost their their defensive coordinator,
Okay.
won another Super Bowl. Lost their offensive coordinator, won another Super Bowl. Lost their head coach, put in a near buffoon as a head coach, and won another Super Bowl.
No, they didn't lose him. Jerry Jones just said, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I mean, that's reality. That happened. That's, you watch Dave Wanstead walk away. You watch Norv Turner walk away. You watch Jimmy Johnson get basically pushed out the door. And they won a Super Bowl after each one of those opportunities.
All right. Let me throw some caveats in. Dave Wanstead was a clown. So if you lose him, good.
Norv Turner. Can I include Norv Turner in there, who was nothing
clownish.
but an offensive coordinator,
right?
Not a head coach. So yeah, but I think the point remains. I mean, the people that think that you can't win because Aaron Glenn and I won't say the other guy's name. He went to the Bears. So
Yeah,
I can't
dead
say
to
his
you?
name.
Is he dead to you?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
me too.
When you go, well, it's funny. Joik's my boy. Shout out to Joik Bell. Okay, I did Joik's games when he was in college, and it was funny when he went to the Bears. I sent him a text. I said, hey, man, nice knowing you. He was like, what the hell does that mean? I go, you're a fucking Bear, man. Like, I'm done with you. Like, when you're not a Bear anymore, you can come back to me, okay? Like it mattered to him, right? But, no, it's the Bears. I got no time for the Bears, man.
Okay. With that said,
There we go.
why is it the Lion fans are so butthurt over what Ben Johnson said about Caleb Williams? I've never, I like having a quarterback who can run. I've never had that before. Isn't that what we said about Jared Goff every step of the way? Mm-hmm. So why are Lion fans so butthurt that he spoke the truth and he's trying to pump up his own quarterback? Caleb Williams needs a boost, a mental boost. But then Lion fans, how dare he say that? He owes Jared Goff an apology. Now, what is Jared Goff's speed in the 40? 5 what?
5'9" is whatever the slowest speed is.
5'9", right.
Yeah. What does that matter to throwing a football? Sorry, I'm getting defensive here. I want Sean to take this first because
He's slow. He's a slow dude.
And ...
Right.
And Ben Johnson pointed out, I've always had slow quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Who was there before Jared Goff? A young man named Matthew Earl Stafford.
Oh, we share the same middle name today.
Yes. He was slow, too. He had white boy wiggle, but he was slow.
I like white boy wiggle. Some of those guys have that little.
They do.
Yeah, just that. Ben Roethlisberger, this giant target, had that slight sidestep where you're like, how did this guy who's like this big avoid that? It's white boy wiggle. I like that. Facts are mean. I guess that would be the best way that I could say it.
Sure.
And I didn't have any problem with what he said because it's factual. There's a lot of things that Jared Goff is. There's a lot of things that Jared Goff had to prove to a lot of people out there. And I was one of them. That man looked done. Mm-hmm. He looked done. Mentally, physically, everything. He got demolished all across the board in L.A. You know what? He came here, and we know what happened. So you give the tip of the cap, you acknowledge that, and you move on. Even if it wasn't true, let's pretend it wasn't true, which it is. It is. What's he supposed to say? That's his quarterback. This is a guy that, as Terry said, it's almost like I got this delicate meat going in. Yeah. Sometimes you have to massage the meat. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna turn out okay. You're gonna be the best pork butt I ever made. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now with Caleb Williams. This is a fragile guy with a fragile franchise. I mean, the Chicago Bears are a fragile franchise. What's he supposed to say? I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams is a baby. Mm-hmm. I don't mean like he's a whiner or something, but he's young. He may not have great confidence. Coach is supposed to come in and say, this is my boy. Mm-hmm. This is my guy here.
I support his nail polish.
Right.
You know, I support the pink purses.
If you got a pink purse, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If I'm the head coach.
If you can lead the locker room, if you can be a quarterback, you can lead a huddle. To be determined. I think there's a little bit of the timing of it. What he said doesn't matter. You're right. You have to pump up your quarterback. You're going to a new team and a quarterback who needs a little confidence boost. You say just that. But it's why say it while taking a subtle shot at Jared Goff? Even if he didn't mean it maliciously, why bring that up? Jared Goff helped Ben Johnson get that head coaching job. We're talking about top 5, top 3 offenses behind this guy who can't run. Like, his offense is complicated. So you got to be quick up here, in between the ears. More importantly than with your feet.
All right, Jared Goff is not his concern anymore. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a damn about Jared Goff and shouldn't.
So why bring it up? Why say anything about?
Because he's supporting his own guy.
Yeah, but why take a shot at your old guy who helped you get there?
Is it a shot, though? Is it a shot?
I don't think he meant it, but I think it's his inexperience. I think it's his inexperience. Like, I'm going to say all this great stuff about my new quarterback, not realizing what your words are going to say, how that's going to affect the guy you just left. Does Jared Goff need any more motivation? No. He just got it.
Okay, I'm going to say something about you I've never said before. Worm boy.
Worm boy?
Worm boy.
Explain, T-Foss.
Because you're just like the other Lion fans. You're all offended. He's supporting his own guy. He just, I've never had this before. That's all he's saying.
He also had never had an offensive coordinator position before Jared Goff.
Jared Goff is not his concern anymore.
Right. So keep Jared Goff out your mouth. Stop talking about the Detroit Lions.
Now you sound like Will Smith.
Yeah. No, why? I can support you guys and pump you up without taking a shot at our competitors.
He's not taking a shot at him.
All right, we'll see what Jared Goff says about that when the Bears play.
Well, supposedly they've already spoken, and it was a fine conversation.
You know what Jared Goff's going to do? He's going to take off down. He's going to fly down the field and show everybody. He's going to do like a 4.240 right down the sideline. Do a little of this right in front of Ben.
Now, here's what Jared Goff's going to do. When the Lions play the Bears, 16 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's what he'll do.
You know what I will say about Ben, though, and this is one thing that unfortunately, I think you guys know this. Every coach has an ego, okay? I mean, undoubtedly. Many coaches' egos are so big that they say, no. My system is what makes you, not the player. We had a guy come in here not that long ago, Joe Lombardi, right? From the Lombardi tree. And what this guy constantly tried to do is say, well, this is what I did with Drew Brees in New Orleans. No. Matthew Stafford's a completely different quarterback. What worked for Drew Brees isn't going to work for Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
What an OC has to do is check his freaking ego at the door. Check that ego right at the door.
Immediately.
And like what you can do is not what I can do. What I can do is not what Terry can do. So you have to tailor your offense to his capabilities. And so I think in that regard, what Ben Johnson is saying is there's shit I can do now with Caleb Williams that I could not do with Jared Goff. And the flip side to that is there's shit that he will not be able to do with Caleb Williams that he could do and had a lot of success with Jared Goff. And I think that's the one good thing about Ben is at least in his time here, he seemed to know what he was dealing with, what was at his disposal. And Terry, he wasn't trying to pound that square peg into the round hole because it ain't going to work. Hey, Goff, we want you to run the option. We're going full wishbone, as a matter of fact, on third down.
Not going to happen.
What?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so now that opens up the playbook in different regards. But I'll give Ben, and I'll only acknowledge him by his name. I won't say the whole name. I'll give him credit that I think he had a pretty good gauge about what he had at his disposal.
Yeah. They helped craft the offense together. But in Chicago, are you going to be able, when Minnesota's bringing the house, they're bringing everybody, is Caleb Williams going to be able to recognize that pre-snap, make his audible, and then deliver a dime to Rome Odunze, just like Jared Goff did against Minnesota last year?
No, he won't be able to.
But he might be able to escape that pressure.
He can escape the
before he
pocket,
throws an interception or something like that.
Or he could run for 27 yards.
Right.
And the first down.
They're completely different players. No need to bring Jared Goff into it. Go be with your new team down in the Windy City. They blow.
Okay, but when you and I think we've established Caleb Williams is a little bit off. He needs some nurturing. So let's say that you had that problem. I may say, "Oh, Broder, looking good today, pal. Like your little hair.
Thank you.
Like your smile." Because I know that you're going through some shit. So I'm here to boost you up.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you how great you are. That's what Ben Johnson has did. Jared Goff is not going to be his quarterback anytime soon, if ever.
You know why Ben Johnson could do that, though? Because he had Dan Campbell breaking them down. You need someone to be tough on them so you can pick somebody back up. You have Dan Campbell as the tough guy, knowing exactly what they need to do so that your offensive coordinator, your QB coach can help build that confidence back up.
You don't think Ben Johnson can learn that? He
He
probably
might be able
doesn't
to.
know that now.
He needs some more time. I love that he stayed for a year to learn under Dan Campbell. That's part of why I think he might make it as a head coach. It's still to be determined. He's got a whole nother team to worry about, too.
He does. Maybe he'll do well in Chicago, but I'm not 100% sure he's going to figure it out. All I know is the game against the Commanders. You have 3rd and 1. You're running the ball like you're nuts. You have a 3rd and 1 empty backfield, and you try to pass the ball and it goes nowhere.
Or a pass from Jameson Williams that gets intercepted.
I was going to bring that up because there aren't many times in his tenure, in my mind, that you could say two things. And I think you could make an argument that these two things happen in that game. Number one, panic. There was panic. Whether we want to admit it or not, there was panic. I think the guys on the offensive side of the ball, and especially the coaches, sat back and said, we ain't stopping these motherfuckers today. We better maximize every single drive. So there was panic. And number two, smartest guy in the room syndrome. and it happens to everybody. It happens to Terry, honest to God, the 3rd and 1 play, I don't think enough is said about it. I really don't. When we break down everything that happened, I don't think enough is said. What could have happened, and I hate playing this game. We'll never know, so I don't want to go down that road. What that drive, and let's say the conclusion of that drive could have wrought, we'll never know. No. But that was a completely different game after that. And that was smartest guy in the room shit.
It is. Now, you can pass in that situation, but don't show an empty backfield.
Right.
Because if you have a running back, the defenses think, okay, they might run, they might pass. We don't know what they're going to do. When you have the empty backfield, they know what you're going to do. And it turned into a disaster. Who was offensive coordinator? Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Terry, Ed O'Neill in the chat says you can look at a lot of the Lions' key losses, and you can see that Ben got away from running the ball. San Francisco, Washington, Tampa Bay, Chicago, etc. It's true.
You got to believe in what you are.
Yeah.
This is
not the invisible.
There's another
was that a Rod
one.
Marinelli?
That's a good one, yeah.
I believe in the invisible.
I believe in the invisible.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, he did. So that's why I'm not convinced this guy is all that in a bag of chips, because we've seen him have some really bad moments as offensive coordinator. We've seen him have a offensive lineman throw a pass in a critical situation. We've seen him early in the game where you're about to put your foot on somebody's throat with the opportunity. You have an empty backfield on 3rd and 1 when you're running the football. So he's not complete as a coach. He's probably not complete. No, he's definitely not complete as an orator to communicating to his fans. So, but he had to pump up his quarterback. And Jared Goff, who the hell cares about Jared Goff now, because he's not my problem anymore. The hell with him.
That's my quarterback.
Okay. Speaking of Jared Goff, Jared Goff has decided to do something that he didn't want to do a year ago. He's going to be on QB1, the Netflix special. I'm wondering, we've seen Drew Brees. We've seen Kirk Cousins. We've seen some pretty interesting people on there. Jared Goff, to me, is kind of, meh. He's a blind guy. Is this really must-see TV, or can we skip the Jared Goff part with QB1, which is a very good series on Netflix?
I'm excited to see it. I understand when you look at it and you see Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow's the other quarterback, right? I think there's some personality and there's some theatrics that we're going to see there. I think Jared Goff's a much more interesting guy than we see through the media, through his interviews, through the stuff even that the Lions put out. I hope we get a behind-the-scenes look. You see his life, his experience with his dog and his now wife, and he's going to have a baby and whatnot. But Jared Goff has some sizzle to him too. Like, he's got some personality. He keeps things so tight to the vest when he's talking to the media in these press conferences. He doesn't give you much. He's savvy. He's not going to say too much. He doesn't want to put bulletin board material on any other team's bulletin board.
He's boring.
He is boring in the media. I think we're going to see a little more.
So you think he's exciting?
No, I think we're going to see more personality out of him. I think Jared Goff, he's got an incredible story. He's in Detroit, and he's a California guy. There's so many variables to this. I don't know what to expect. I'm hopeful that we see some of that personality.
You know what's funny? I'm not at the point with QB1 yet that I am with Hard Knocks, all right? And what I mean by that is, been there, done that with Hard Knocks. I felt that way for years. The only reason I checked back in is when the Lions were on, okay? But I can tell you, I'm sure you've been out there, Terry. You and I have been out there more times than you could shake a stick at. What you see on Hard Knocks is not reality.
No.
It is not real. And I tell people this all the time. It is a made-for-television show. So they are going to spice everything up. These guys know that the cameras are on. They know that the cameras are on. They know that they have to maybe be something that they're not. QB1 hasn't got to that point for me yet, But the one thing I will tell people is the same thing I tell people. Do you remember last year, a year ago at this time, because of Hard Knocks, there were living, breathing organisms, not just in Chicago, here in Detroit, that were scared of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
What?
Still are.
And I would say, help me out here. When is a rookie quarterback done well? For everyone you can name, Jaden Daniels, I'll give you 5 who've sucked, okay? Including that clown last year, okay? What am I missing? Oh, if you watch Hard Knocks and it's like, oh boy, you fell for it again. All right, QB1's different for me. Maybe I haven't got to that point yet, but Terry, I'm intrigued. I am. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Hard Knocks, I'm not in. They're not even doing Hard Knocks.
No.
Year,
Are
right?
you intrigued only because he plays for the Lions?
Yes. Openly admit it. I'm a slapdick like that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Openly admit it.
Jared Goff was with the Seattle Seahawks. I would skip that segment.
I probably would too. Like, it's the Marcus Mariota from QB1. It is what it is. I'm not really interested.
Well,
but
why would you skip? You just told us he's exciting away from the media.
No, I'm hopeful he's going to be, but I am watching because he's the Lions quarterback.
Yes.
I actually enjoyed Kirk Cousins on QB1 last year. All of the behind the scenes prepping for the week, the mental stuff that he does, getting to see the toll that the week put on his body. That from the game before, he got beat up. He's got to go through all of this prehab, all this recovery to get ready for the next week. And he's an interesting guy. And his wife picks out his plaid shirts to wear to the field, and he's boring, but he was very interesting to me. I don't know how to really explain it. I like that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, we don't get to see them prepare for a game. We didn't get to see until QB1 how difficult it is to go from Sunday to Sunday. When I went to the locker room, whenever I would go into an NFL locker room on a Monday, I was like, I could kick every one of these guys' ass because they were so beaten up.
They're just hobbling.
They're hobbling around, walking slow. They have all the training tables out. Monday is massage day. That's when they try to get them together. You don't do anything on a Monday. That's why these Thursday games that people like, I think they're dangerous to players. Yeah. Because by Thursday, you're still not ready for a Sunday game. But now you got to play. NFL is a really, really fucked up league.
Yeah. No, it is. Those guys, now, many guys won't probably say this publicly, but here, you know how we are in this town. We hold and embrace Thanksgiving Day. It's ours, okay?
Correct.
It is. It's ours. You won't find a guy say this, not one, but I guarantee you Terry's had this conversation with someone. They all hate it. They don't want that. They just played on Sunday. They'd rather be home with their family. Give me one day. Give me an extra day. They don't want that. They'll go in front of the camera and smile and say, "Oh, I love it." You know,
I'm honored.
As a kid growing up, man, my grandma would make that turkey, and I'd smell it in the oven. And man, we were all in front of the TV at 12:30. Bullshit, and bullshit. Mm-hmm. All of it.
And
they don't want it.
I'm wishing I was in that game.
Right. They don't want it because of what Terry just said. And a lot of times, the worst part is if you have the late game, the previous. Think about when you're getting in, man. If you're on the road, and I know back in the day, Bill Keenest, they always tried to get a home game, so at least you didn't have that travel, right? Let's try to get a home game the Sunday before, so at least you can just roll home, do what you need to do and everything. But if you have to travel, think about it. Man, you're getting in at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's even less time to prepare yourself for the Thanksgiving Day game.
It's like taking out another day. You're taking another day out of the week. But that's the NFL controlling the calendar week to week, month to month. Was there a game on every single day of the week last year? There was on Wednesday because it was Christmas.
Did they skip Tuesday?
It might have been Tuesday. Like there was one day that they missed. But an NFL game on every day of the week? That would have been unheard of, right?
What was that? There was some crazy stat, and I forget. But there was some crazy stat that football was on for like 300 some straight, not 300, but like X amount of days or something. And that 1 week, it was because the NFL was on 6 days and there was a bowl game on the other day. So I think that's what you're talking about, where there was this insane span of time where you could watch a game every day for, what was it, 19 days in a row, some crap like that.
And I'm old enough to remember, I'm an old guy, where the NFL said, we're not playing on Friday. That belongs to the high schoolers, and we're not going to infringe upon that.
Not going to play on Saturday either, right?
Yeah, well, they did play on Saturday.
Then they moved some playoff games to Saturday. Then there's a couple regular season
games. They play
games.
the last part of the season on Saturdays. But not on Friday.
Broder, you're a baseball guy.
Yeah.
There was a time, Terry could tell you, they would defer to the World Series too.
Really?
If the World Series, we're not going to do the Sunday night game this week because there's a World Series game.
So they let that play.
Now the NFL just goes like this to everybody.
Yeah.
Like really, they do. That's what they say to everybody. We're going to play when we want to play because we're the bully, and there's nothing you can do until you come up and shank me. You come up with a shank and you get me. This is what we're going to do. I run this yard.
All right, remember 9/11?
Yes.
Everybody's trying to figure out when we're going to come back. Oh, I don't know when it's appropriate to come back. The NFL said, we're coming back this Sunday. And then everybody was like, okay, cool.
Yep.
We'll do the same thing. Everybody else shut down. The NFL said, we're ready to roll.
We're cool. That's it. Look, that's the way it's been. That's the way it's been for a long time. If you can't acknowledge that, you choose to live in a different reality, and it's only going to get bigger, guys. It is. I firmly believe it. It's only going to get bigger, and this is one of those things. And keeping it with the Lions, I mean, you know how this town is. Okay, if the Lions make that legitimate push and take that last step and win the NFC Championship and go to the Super Bowl, can you imagine what this town's going to be like for 2 weeks leading up to that Super Bowl? Because now all of a sudden all the grandmas are in, right? All the grandmas are in. Like, Terry, I remember during the 04 Pistons, she must have been 79 at the time. My grandma calls me and goes, boy, isn't this stuff about the Pistons great? And I'm going, what? Grandma? I really like this Wallace guy. Is this my grandma? What happened to my grandma? It was like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and stuff. Imagine what it'll be like with the Lions.
But man, you know who else is going to be excited? The crackheads.
Oh, that's true, too.
Crackheads are not going to be walking around, hey, what's going on? They're going to be sober. They're going to, because they're going to want to watch the Lions in the Super Bowl. The crackheads are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to stay sober for 14 days because I'm checking this damn game out.
Pushers are going to be the only pissed off people in town.
Yep.
What'd you do to my clientele? That's great.
Crackhead, you want some crack? Nope. I'm done. I have an iced tea.
Yep, not today.
And a biscuit.
I say it all the time. Honest to goodness, I say it all just once. I swear to God, I will never bitch about this franchise again. I have spent more time and energy, and it's out of passion, not out of hatred. I've said that 10,000 times. It is out of passion and fandom that I've said and done some of the things that I've done. Terry, I'm done. I'll never bitch about him again. I'll never. You could bring Matt Millen back.
Come on.
No.
And I'd sit back and go, you go, Matt. You got this. Second time around, baby. Because I got it. I got that one. Just one time. You want to put that Larry Bird finger up. You do. Just one time you want to put that Larry Bird finger up. We'll see.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep this question to myself. If the Lions, I already know your answer, so shut up.
Man.
If the Lions only make the Super Bowl one time in the next 10 years, would you be disappointed?
Absolutely. The easiest question you've ever asked. This team needs to make the Super Bowl multiple times. I think they will get there. However many they win, I don't know. If they only make it one time in the next 10 years, I'm going to be very disappointed. I think it's a failure.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Failure.
This team led by Dan Campbell needs to get there multiple times. We just went over how many, their core under 25 years old. They belong in the Super Bowl.
You win. All right, let's win the Super Bowl. You win one Super Bowl, and you would call the next 10
Oh, no, if they win one. We're
okay.
good.
I get
We're
what you're
good.
saying. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. If they win one, you can do whatever you want with the rest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I year to year, I'd like to see them in the
But
Super
if
Bowl
they
more.
go once and lose, then that's not good enough.
Absolutely not. No chance.
I agree with that.
No chance.
I'm sorry. Because again, if out of one side of our mouth, Terry, we're all going to sit there and talk about how great our general manager is, and I believe it. Out of one side and then the other side of our mouth, we're going to sit back and talk about how Dan Campbell changed the culture and look at everything he did. I can't create a new side of my mouth to go, and it's okay if they don't win. No, it's not okay if they don't win. I'm sorry, it's not.
If you're going to pay the money you pay to St. Brown, to Ali McNeil, to Hutch is coming, Penei Sewell, these guys, if you're handing out that money to guys that you have drafted, the team that you're building, you have to be in the Super Bowl multiple times. And they will.
Yeah, because they got some talent.
A lot of it.
Talent, culture. There's a desire. And this town is going to push them.
Yep.
They can't be complacent. In Detroit, you can't become complacent because the fans are going to say, hey, what the hell's going on here? Although, our Red Wings, complacent.
No doubt about that.
There's no urgency
No
with
doubt
Steve
about that.
Yzerman.
No doubt about that.
So
You know what we used to do too, and I'm just as guilty about this as anybody. I think a lot of times what we would do is like you'd put a circle around the game. The Monday night game against the Bears in 2011, okay? The crowd was electric. I'm telling you, when Javid Best scored that, what was it, like 75-yard touchdown run, I'm convinced it registered on the Richter scale. There was a noise, there was an explosion with that you couldn't put a price tag on. And you know what the reality is? Every single week it's like that at Ford Field now. And that's so cool.
It's so cool.
It is cool.
That is so cool.
But let me be bad.
All right.
Why'd the Lions have a better road record than home record last year?
Good question.
It is a great question.
Good question.
Yeah,
Do you have a theory?
No.
Neither do I.
I don't.
It don't make sense to me.
Because Ford Field is electric. Nobody wants to play there. But they sure did find a way to win there.
Yeah. You want to say because they're well coached, but it's like, then why did you lose at home? But to have a team prepared to win on the road is so important. It does go directly to your coaching staff, your veteran players. But then why?
I guess
I don't know.
if I'm looking at it in fairness, at least the losses that they had were to 3 playoff teams.
True.
3 pretty good teams that may have been losses on the road. So maybe it was a schedule snafu, which why I fast forward to this year when I hear everybody and their brother talk about how brutal the road schedule is. And it is.
It is.
Okay? All right. Give me 500. I'm serious. Give me 500. Give me, or at least in this case, 5-4.
5-4.
Go 5. Now,
6-3.
the flip side to that is look at that home schedule. If you don't feast in that home schedule, then we got a problem. Then the problems are bigger than any of us thought. Yeah. With that home schedule, I'll say it. Go 8-0.
Yeah, you have
go 8-0.
Yeah.
Go. And that way, you know what? Ho hum, you go 4-5. You're still a 12-5 team, and 12-5 is going to win this division. You're not going to see a Viking situation like last year. Everything came together for the Vikings. Yeah. I give them a tip of the cap. I think KOC is a heck of a coach, okay? But now that schedule is going to catch them. Mm-hmm. Now they don't have that inferior schedule. They have the schedule.
You know what else is going to catch up with them? The law of averages.
Absolutely.
Winning 15 games is a fluke.
Absolutely.
Nobody wins 15 games. Usually you win 12, 13, the upper echelon teams, but you can count on your hands the number of times NFL teams have won 15 games.
Yeah.
Or even 14 games. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So last year the Lions were very good. Last year teams are like, are they really for real? But this year, people are going to really know that they're for real. So they're going to come after them with their best stuff. And you notice this division, they didn't rest and say, okay, well, we're going to try to settle for second place because the Lions are so good. No, that's not happening. They're like, no, the hell with that. We're going to win this division. Screw the Lions.
Terry,
that's called competition.
Terry, a year ago, it's so funny you say that because a year ago at this time, there were a lot of people out there like me. I couldn't give 2 shits if the Lions went 10-7. I don't care. Their ultimate pass fail, success fail is what happens in the postseason.
Yeah.
honest to God, I couldn't care less if they're 10-7 and they get in the playoffs in the last game of the year, like they clinched the division last year. And people heard that a year ago and went, "Oh, I can't believe it. We need to hang that banner." I'll bet you a majority of them are on my side now.
Yeah.
I'll bet you right now. I don't give a shit what you do in the regular season. Get in the playoffs, okay? And I always bring this up. The New York Giants, man, in one of the shittiest games I can remember, they beat the Cowboys in the last game of the year to finish 9-7 and win the NFC least. And then they went and won a Super Bowl about a month later.
Right.
Wrong again, Buzzard
Give
Breath.
me. Why?
If you want to win the Super Bowl, you got to win your division.
I'm fine with that. Yeah,
Okay, win the
I'm fine
division.
with that.
Don't go in as a wild card. Chances are you're not going to make it. So, one of the other reasons why I think the Lions are good now is I've talked to a bunch of people from around the NFL during my travails, and they said if you're a franchise, if you're the Lions, all you have to worry about is, am I better than the Bears, the Vikings, and the Packers? The rest of it will take care of itself. So you draft so you can beat the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Because A, if you're better than them, you win your division. B, if you win your division, you're a top 1, 2, or maybe at worst 3 seed. 4 or 3, I can't count today, is you're at home. And that's what counts. Yes, last year the Lions won 15 games, lost at home, but that's the outlier. So bottom line, be better than these other teams in your division, and if you can do that consistently, you're going to go to your multiple Super Bowls. You might win 1 or 2.
That's the key.
Can't be fooling around as wild cards.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's what the Giants did. They won the East with that win over the Cowboys, and they were 9-7. They looked fraudulent as the day is long. Fraudulent as the day is long. But then something happened. They got their defensive line back, and they made the greatest of all time. Tom Brady looked miserable in that Super Bowl with the pressure that they put on him. And so that's the type of situation. I don't like it, Terry. I'll agree with you. You'd rather win the division, of course. I don't give a shit if they're 10-7. I don't. Their prize does not happen in the regular season. Right. Can we all agree? You guys out there, can we all agree? The ultimate success or failure with this franchise is based on what happens in January and February.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen this year? No matter what they do during the regular season, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, whatever. Hey, they're 8-1. Yep, so what?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, they're 12-3. So what?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
So it won't register this year because we saw what happened this past season. We're only going to be concerned about January, February. Well, it's only one game in February, but we're going to be concerned with January. That's it.
Yeah. What Dan Campbell say in one of his early speeches, early press conference, there are a number of teams that just barely reach the water, but you have to get to the water to compete. And now he's got this team, and I think he said, we just have to tread water long enough to bury you. They're there now. They haven't gotten to where they need to go, to where we expect them to go, but they got there. Now's the time with this young core, with some strategic draft picks we're hoping to get in a couple of weeks. Now's the time where they take that next step, drag them out to the abyss, and they bury them. That's
sure.
what's next.
You know what he wants the Lions to be? Alligators?
Yeah.
You know what alligator does to you? When he grabs you, he does that
Death
roll.
roll.
The death roll.
Yeah.
That's what he wants the Lions to be.
Yeah.
Death roll into the water.
And, it's funny because, Terry, you brought up the lack of urgency in the Red Wings, and I couldn't agree with you more. They are without a star. There are a lot of nice pieces, some pieces that we haven't seen yet, but nobody has presented themselves as a star. The Lions have stars, and I understand that people out there, well, why didn't Brad do this? Why didn't Brad do that? And this is where I have to remind people, not only do we have the draft, not only do we have the scrap heap, but you know what? Something else that the NFL has tried to do that baseball and hockey have always had right, and basketball in a certain regard as well. They've tried to make the trade deadline a thing because it didn't happen when we were younger.
Yeah.
It didn't. NFL trades. You ain't see no damn NFL trades and everything. They've tried to make it a thing. Is this the year? If we're at that point in time in the season and the Lions they're 5-2, 6-3, whatever the case may be, and maybe they're in tight like they were with the Vikings. Is this the year where Brad says, I'm pushing it all in? I'm pushing it all in. Now I feel we're at the point where I can go make that move where Broder is exactly what my team needs. I must have that guy. He's the final piece. We're ready to do it. And that's why I caution people, let's not be too hasty on, he doesn't have a sense of urgency. If after the trade deadline we're still having these conversations, maybe we can revisit it. I'm not so sure we will be.
Well, but let me throw that big but in there. When you look at Detroit sports the last 10 years, nobody is managing with urgency. The Wings are not. Pistons are not. Lions are not.
I don't think they've needed to. There have been points where a little urgency.
Okay, how many championships has Detroit won in the last 10 years?
0.
Okay, so
None. But if Brad Holmes has been operating with urgency and has made a couple moves that didn't turn out well, we would be looking back on it and saying these are failure of moves. His lack of urgency is Brad being smart. It's him not taking the apple out of the tree. It's him resisting the temptation to make a move now that could affect them re-signing Hutch, re-signing Kirby or Brian Branch. Like, we want it. We want a Super Bowl now, but he's waiting for the right time. We haven't seen Brad operate with this team, with these expectations yet, with this roster yet. Now that one piece could be the difference maker. Now you don't need all of those draft picks to build your roster. Your draft picks are going to be backups anyway. They're drafting for depth, maybe a starter here and there. So now's the time where you start offloading if he thinks it's necessary.
Here's what scares me. Lions have more cap room than just about anybody in the NFL. And here's Brad. We don't have any money. We don't have enough money. You know, it's like and I understand being thrifty.
Mm-hmm.
You want to sign everybody that you can, but you're going to lose people. So now Brad Holmes is in that stage of the NFL where the elite teams have to decide, who do we keep, who do we get rid of? Because we can't pay everybody.
No. But he's making some of these decisions a year early. He's getting St. Brown and Penei Sewell signed a year early, where days after they go from being one of the highest paid at their position to within 2 or 3 days, they're down to number 5 or 6 on the chart. The salary cap is growing. These contracts are growing, and he's locked in some of his key guys already. I think he's being savvy.
There's one guy I wish he locked into.
Brian Branch?
Zadarius Smith.
He might still do it.
He still might, but I'm feeling squeamish.
I can appreciate that because I think we can all agree pass rush is a need of theirs.
100%.
True.
Like,
now, didn't we say as a group, hey, what's it going to look like when Zadarius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson out on the field on the same time?
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to look like if Zadarius Smith goes through training camp with these guys? What's it going to look like if these are like his real boys? I want to see it.
What's the roster going to look like if you're committed to Zadarius Smith for it would be 2 more years and $13 or $15 million?
All right, Honey Bun, you're going to need a pass rusher.
Right.
You're going to have to pass him, right?
Right.
Or pay him.
Right. Last time I checked, Zadarius Smith was not signed to an NFL team still.
Right.
So
I
he's
saw
still
him
out
at the
there.
Pistons game the other day, and I'm not going to lie, that like 9-year-old kid in me was going, he's coming back. They have an agreement in place.
Yeah.
You know it doesn't. Brad's not saying it because he's smart at GM, and I love my Brad. And really, I did. I went into the whole 9-year-old thing when they showed him
Did
Kool-Aid.
you do that in front of people?
Oh, I do it in front of my kids all the time.
God.
Well, my poor kids, they're scarred. They, pantless Sunday after all. When the Lions have those types of games, kids, I don't know what happened. My pants just fell off. Don't come out in the front room. Dad doesn't have his pants on. But no, really, that went through my head when I saw him and our boy Kool-Aid's at every game, and they showed Zadarius up on the screen. That was the first thing that went in my head. Terry is like, okay, maybe there's a wink. We can't do something now. Let's wait until the draft is over and then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's
T?
something going on.
You know what I'm saying, T?
I think he is a member of the Detroit
I do too.
Lions.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. He loves Detroit. And wouldn't you want to play opposite Aiden Hutchinson? Do you need to be signed right now? Yeah, you want your contract. You want your $13.5 million, but you'd rather be on this team.
But it's not like people are breaking down the door.
Exactly. So Brad Holmes said, hey, if you can get more, I want you to take care of your family. Get as much money as you can. We can't make that decision right now. Go test it out. If you get it, take it. If not, come on home.
Or
home.
just sit tight. We'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
we got you.
Yeah. They'll figure out a way to add some incentives in there for games played and whatnot. I think he'll be back.
We have to look at the lay of the land after we get our rookies, and we're going to get these guys locked in, and then we're going to know definitively what we have and what we don't have.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling when all is said and done, and listen, I mean, that's one of those positions. Terry and I grew up in an era where you had all these defensive fronts had names, right? There was the Silver Rush.
Yeah.
There was the Doomsday Defense. There was the Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
And you know what? You had 4 guys. To this day, I can name the guys on each one of those teams that I mentioned. 4 guys that played first, second, third down. Those days are so long gone.
Mm-hmm.
You need that rotation. You need that guy who's going to be on first and second down, but you're never going to see him on third. But that guy like Broder who's going to bring it on third down. We might use you some occasional first down situations. It is rotational now. It is not plug and play. It's rotational.
No, it's true because these guys are fat and they're huffing and puffing. They can't just play first down, second down, third down. They gotta get them in and get them out.
You want them 100% every single play, and it's what the Eagles did. The rotational defensive line, the rotational outside linebackers, just get guys in and go get that quarterback. And the last thing I'll add, with the new defensive coordinator in Kelvin Shepard, who wouldn't want a guy like Zadarius Smith in that locker room, in that defensive line room? More veteran knowledge to go along with Casey Rogers and the staff that a young but talented Kelvin Shepard is building. You want Zadarius Smith on this team.
I want him just because of his smile.
He's such a likable guy.
He is. But you know what? People don't want to come to Detroit. He's in Detroit. He loves it. He doesn't want to leave. I want people like that on my team.
Is he dating like a Detroit rapper? He's in. Any of you guys know? Not to look, he's got some some romantic connections to Detroit.
You know, the thing is, too, and Terry, you and I have talked about this more times you could shake a stick at. The reputation of Detroit and the reality of Detroit are 2 entirely different things. And you guys have seen it. You all have seen it, okay? You know what happens when people come here? They fall in love with this place.
They do. I give you 2 names did not want to come here. Isaiah Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
No way they wanted to come to Detroit. Now they all fell in love with it. And
Isaiah considers himself a Detroiter, right?
He's a Piston for life, a Detroiter for life.
One of the best Chicago athletes coming up ever.
Well, Michael Jordan stole Chicago from him.
Right. Gordie Howe kept Detroit from Wayne Gretzky.
Right. But St. Brown did not want to come here.
Yeah. Cash Doll. Zadarius Smith was with Cash Doll at the Pistons
I've heard
game.
of her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Football now, with how violent it is, I think about it similar to pitchers going to find a home. It's becoming less of the destination, the city, the climate. Go to Miami and play, because it's you want to go to a team, a coaching staff that you trust is going to take care of you. It's so violent. At any moment, your career could be over. So you want to go to a guy and play for a guy like Dan Campbell. If you're a pitcher, any pitch you throw could be the last pitch you throw. You could blow your arm out at any moment. You want to go to a pitching coach that will take care of you. Chris Fetter is the destination for pitchers around the MLB, not Detroit. It's Chris Fetter. Then they get to Detroit and you realize this is a damn cool place.
Young man, trademark Terry Foster, I might add. What you just said, I don't think you understand how much validity there is, and the flip side to that is what he and I live. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this many times. The reputation of this franchise, not the city, this franchise was dog shit. Mm-hmm. Not just around the league, but guys that were here. Guys that were here that Terry would call me. Terry called me up and go, Sean, I haven't talked to you in a while. What's up, man? Hey, T, you all right? Everything well? Well, listen, I got an opportunity. What do you think about Detroit? T, I love you. Don't do it.
Stop.
Don't do it. Don't you like people don't. And I've heard Terry talk about this, and he's spot on. People don't understand how bad the reputation of this franchise was. They don't get it. I don't think this franchise understands
Maybe not.
how bad the reputation of this
Dude,
franchise
they
was.
thought Ndamukong Suh wanted to come back. And everybody knew he didn't. And the other thing, to your point, the players on the Lions, if a player was traded or signed somewhere else as a free agent, they'd have a party for the dude.
True story.
And say, hey,
Unbelievable.
welcome to the NFL. You finally arrived. That's what Lion players would do.
That's unbelievable.
Do you remember when they started doing that thing where they would bring back a different Lion from hero gone by, or from days gone by, former hero and everything? And I'm never going to name any names because I didn't have permission, but a very prominent Lion who everybody would know his name. He is an absolute legend in my mind. Maybe I'm biased. Flat out looked at me and said, I never thought I'd be back here.
Wow.
Look me right in the eye. Because I was like, man, wow, I haven't seen you since like you retired. He looked at me like totally sober, and goes, I never thought I'd be back. Why would I come back? I was like, well, I guess there's validity to that.
Yeah.
So at least they're helping things out. They're at least starting that process. And sometimes with this franchise, every time they take a step forward, they take 2 steps back, though.
And it's little things that have happened along the way that we don't talk about very much, like sitting Zadarius Smith for a week to give him his bye week last year. Honestly, trading DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia, like sending him home. You're not just sending him to the middle of nowhere. You're not just sending him to – you send him home. Like those things, and those are only 2 examples, they add up. And that's what football players, that's what veterans talk about. Like, hey, go there. They're going to treat you right, at the very least. You got to put in the work and the effort to get on the field, but they're going to make sure you're taken care of. They're not going to try to screw you over. No,
and that's huge. And I think, especially with a lot of the alumni here, they kind of feel like they were screwed over. And unfortunately, there's still some of that exists. There was an alumni suite that magically went away, and I'm speaking to you factually. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys were like, man, you start heading in the right direction, you just do stuff like that, and suddenly there were some tickets that were at one time available that aren't available. Mm-hmm. and I think that's the kind of stuff that, you know, from an infrastructure thing, you want to show people you're different. You want to do the things that you just brought up. And I think they were starting to do stuff like that. But then, listen, I get it. That's the hottest ticket in town. Yeah. I don't want to tell you. Terry, I know I told you, I got Thanksgiving Day tickets last year for my 2 nephews. They live down in Florida. I don't even want to tell you what I spent for them. Don't want to. Like, it makes me wince. I go like that and go, did I really spend that much? But here's 2 kids that were going through kind of a difficult time, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be the cool uncle, and I'm going to tell them, this is your Christmas present, just giving you a heads up, but you're going to a Thanksgiving Day game. I don't want to tell you what I spent on.
All right, why don't you cool out for a second? We have to go over to Kool-Aid over here.
Hey.
You got some stuff for us?
Hey, we do, man. Look, we got some super chats. So throughout the show,
good. Let's roll.
People have been supporting. Broder, I know you'll be able to hear me a little bit more. So
I got you.
Where the questions are, definitely make sure to present these things to the crew. But Ed O'Neill, word to Ed O'Neill, one of the OGs here at Woodward Sports, early on said, what should the Lions do in the draft, and why is it D-line? He sent in the $1.99 super chat.
Okay, we always get this from Brad Holmes. Best player available. Martin Mayhew said that also, and would draft the worst player available. I have to believe there is going to be best player availables at the rush end. That's what they need. I still want Zadarius Smith to come back, but I want to see a young buck in there too.
I don't think I'm going to stand on this. I don't think it'll be the first round. I don't. I think that there's so much depth. You're talking about upwards to 31 different options, 18 of them being at the edge that you can get in the first 3 rounds of the draft. I think there's value in the second and there's third. And you can excuse it, Terry, with that. We have to take the best player available by taking that interior lineman in the first round. That's just my
When
guess.
is a guard ever a best player available?
I think when you're talking about the Lions' position where they're in right now, where you have a couple guys on the inside that might not be here much longer. Okay, I think for this team, and you're talking late first round, whether it be Gray or Tyler Booker, I think that's where those roads might traverse. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But the thing that Brad Holmes does that's kind of sneaky, he builds units. He doesn't just draft players. He wants to build a unit.
You got it.
So now we got to figure out, is he going to try to rebuild the offensive line, who's getting old, or is he going to try to do something with the defensive line? It's going to be in the interior somewhere.
And where's the money going now? We see defensive tackle contracts start to grow. Last year, Christian Wilkins. We see the value of these interior defensive linemen going up. What's going to come along after that? The value of interior offensive linemen. They're getting the money. Now you need the guys to protect them. We see the difference in this team without a Zeitler or with Glasgow not playing his best game. Eventually, Ragnow's got to move on. I'm not saying go do it in the first round, but the value of those interior guys is starting to grow. I'm with Sean. I think that the top 3 edge rushers, which will probably be gone by 15, 17, if you can go up and get one of them, take one of them. But at 28, there's so much depth in that second day. So many really good edge rushers. Brad Holmes will find his guy, and I think he'll wait till day 2. Whether it's offensive lineman day 1, whether Malachi Starks falls to 28. Well, I would love to add another Brian Branch type of player in the first round, or maybe a wide receiver, depending on what they want to do with J-Mo.
Can I be a dick for just a second?
You can do it for 2 or 3 seconds.
All right. Isn't he going to pick, what's he do, Mikael Williams from Georgia?
Maybe.
He's a good player. He's injured.
Oh, then yeah.
That's what he does.
Is he falling down draft boards?
Yeah.
Because he was like a top 12 guy.
Yeah, but he just had a bad ankle. You can fix that up.
Maybe he's just doing that to fall to Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Or Brad will meet him halfway and move up. It's not like Brad doesn't do that or anything.
I said we want to move into 21 or 22 right in front of the Packers. Because they're, 23, I think?
No. Brad is too smart for that. He's going to move down to 42 and get him.
You know what? I want to finish the show off with this type of draft talk as well, but we do have a couple more super chats I want to read before we get there.
Chat us up.
$9.99 super chat, man. Dante151 says, you know what's funny? The Bears did the same crap that they did every single time where they hire a new coach, but don't hire a GM. The Bears will always choke in major key moments in a game. And then someone else also, I believe it's another one of our regulars, Burn, $5 super chat. Fortunately, the Bears, Packers, and Vikings also play most of the brutal schedule and the Lions twice. So I love what you guys have done this morning at encouraging our Lions fan base to take dumps on the NFC North. I think that's a fabulous thing this morning.
Take it. There's actually a cartoon, believe it or not, about that. You have a lion sitting on a throne, and the throne is a toilet. We call them thrones, but sitting on the toilet, and the toilet seat is a Chicago Bear.
Hey!
The toilet paper is a Green Bay Packer, and then the Minnesota Vikings are like the second set of toilet paper that you have.
I'm almost wondering if that's the correct order.
We need to get you that T-shirt.
Check out the WoodwardSports.com shop.
Right.
New merch dropping daily, weekly, daily.
Right.
That's right. And you got a Washington Commanders fan in the chat. I don't know if he's trolling or if he's being serious, but his name is James Jones. He said golf is a stud. It's a Washington fan telling you.
I like it.
You
Sean
know
is
what?
deliberating.
Commander fans,
They should love him.
They can make fun of Detroit.
They have the right.
They got the right.
Sometimes you have. It's almost like I tried to tell Viking fan last year. Okay, like there's a time to chirp and there's a time to shut up, and Viking fan was constantly in the time to shut up, and even after they were humiliated in that Sunday night game, okay, humiliated the next week against the Rams, they still found time to jump back in and chirp at us.
You were on Big D Energy, right, with Neil Rule?
What?
Yeah, weird.
What? Like, I didn't get it. Like, both things can be true. I can give you a tip of the cap and say, hey, KOC got the most out of you guys. I can also sit back and say, you can't be talking shit, man. Like, you're a Viking fan. Knock it off. And so, like, if the Commanders chirp up, you know what I have to do?
Zip. And
No comeback.
How about travesty? KOC did a great job with Minnesota
He
last
really
year. Dan Campbell is the coach of the year. 15 wins with that team?
With the injuries.
Yeah.
With
What
the
more do you have to do?
With the injuries, yes.
What more do you have to do?
Yeah.
We'll say
That you know, that's another case where people don't pay attention to Detroit.
Right.
Because I heard a commentator say, I can't give Dan Campbell coach of the year. Look at all that talent he's got. That talent is what Ford Hospital on crutches.
He didn't play it. Yeah. I heard one of those national yahoos who you want to hear a guy that doesn't do homework. Listen to almost any national show, and I'm serious when I say that. But
Talking Shaquille O'Neal.
a national host the other night. I was driving home, and I heard this guy say, "Oh, I think that the Detroit Lions have peaked." So my interest was piqued, and I'm screaming at the radio based on what? Based on what? Just based on why have the Detroit Lions peaked? And he was like, well, they're not a 15-2 team. Like that's what he followed it up with. And I go, they went 15-2 with a bunch of 2s and 3s, man. Like, what do we do?
4s and 5s.
And again, I don't.
What did Denny Green say?
You are what your record indicates.
That's it.
Yep. I don't care what anybody say. I go 12-5, win the division. I couldn't give 2 craps. Take 3 games off the win total next year. Couldn't give 2 shits, man. Find a way, like you said, Terry, be at home, go 12-5. Hell, you know what? Winning at 10-7. I don't give a shit. You know what? Make your bread in January and February.
That's true. Sean, but here's what we forgot.
What?
Last season, Lions were kicking people's ass.
Yep.
They weren't winning. They were mollywopping people.
Mollywop.
I love that word.
That's a great
Phrase.
word.
So, well,
fantastic
you know, like the year before, well, the Vikings can't do it again because they're winning 15-14 and 7-2. My Lions are putting up 50 points on folks.
Yeah.
So, you know, just talking about your mama. But then they got injured, and then they settled down there.
They got beat by a good team.
You know what I think happened last year, and it's not going to happen this year. The gods of the NFL said, "No, Lions, not your turn yet."
Okay.
So we're going to mess with you. So we're going to see how you can rebound from this. We're going to see if you can come back stronger. Brad, can you do another draft? Brad, can you bring in some more free agents? Dan Campbell, can you motivate a locker room for another year? Mm-hmm. The guys said, no, we're not going to let you do this. Probably as punishment for the last 50 years.
I won't argue with that. You know, when you are the bad franchise that you are, and you consistently want to tell people that you weren't a bad franchise, there's a penance that must be paid. And I think I think for us, we're going, what do we do? Yeah, we're the innocent victims. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully the penance has been paid.
Yeah.
I think it has. Law of averages, this can't happen again. Law of averages, next season, they got 3 guys out on defense, and that's it. Not 15. There's only 11 dudes on the field. How can you have 15 people out?
What was that meme that was going around at one time where they showed they showed the list of the graph, and it was like this team has 4 out, this day. Lions were like at 19, and I'm going, that's fake. Look at that. That's fake. And unfortunately, it wasn't fake. We all lived it, man. We all lived it. That was real. Very, very real. Any more Super Chats, Kool-Aid?
No more Super Chats.
Okay, just want to make sure we take care of the people.
Definitely. But our Commanders fan, he did hit back. He said, yes, sir, I always keep it real. This is James Jones. He says, I love what you all are doing in Detroit. You guys were killing it like Philly. So he says he's not trolling.
Maybe he's really a good
Mutual
dude.
respect.
Mutual
What you did last year, seriously, tip of the cap. Props, you got a special one at quarterback.
Yeah, that's the key. I'd be kind. I'd be calm to any other fan base when I know Jaden Daniels is my quarterback.
Right. You know what he said about Jaden Daniels before he came to Ford Field?
What?
Rookie. He'll choke.
I said it too.
I know. And this dude was like, okay.
Do it all the time.
Hey, that was all of us. That was all of us.
I know.
I thought
this
it was
dude,
special, but I didn't think. I thought the moment would be too much for him. And I thought Jared Goff was going to be the guy, and it was just crazy to see how that played in reverse.
I think like all of us, you're at home with your family, you're watching the Christmas Eve game, and it was like, I remember thinking to myself, phew, okay, he got that game out. That won't happen again. You know, that was the reality. So.
It's
You
kind
know,
of like
he just spits out a bad one now and then.
Yep.
Kind of like you were talking about, you can tell when the national guys haven't done their homework, aren't actually watching the games. I knew about Jaden Daniels. I knew how good he was on the field. But until you see him for a full game up close and personal, you see how strong he is between the ears. That was the difference. That's why he's going to be a superstar when you pair that with his actual talent on the field. And you go out and get Laramie Tunsil.
There's a moxie with that dude.
Damn.
Like, all the respect in the world. Like, seriously, there's a moxie with that dude. It's legit, and it'll be fun to see where he goes.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have been crushing, by the way. And Willie B sent me a text. He was like, bro, they've been just talking for over an hour, and it's just been on point. I'm all in. The content is dope. I can't wait for this to see where this goes from here. But the reason why I want to stop you guys is because
we ready for our
did get
first
another
break?
super chat. We gotta. we might have breaks in the future, but this one was like, you know what? Let's just rock, man. I love the chemistry with this crew, and you know what? Nobody with the $2 super chat says, "Is this a new program every Sunday?" What's up, Kool-Aid? And T Foss, because we gotta wrap up soon. But let the people know about what we're gonna be doing here every single Sunday.
All right,
Both
every
of these
single
guys
Sunday
on your
from 8
left
till
and right said
9:30,
they're willing to be
the Lions
consistent.
weekly update plus NFL crap that we're going to throw in here. Now, I'm going to be the moderator. It's kind of like, it's supposed to be like sports reporters thing. You remember that from ESPN?
Oh, yeah.
I would like to have these two guys come on as often as possible, but we also have a group of other people that we will have on to be on here with me. Now, when Sean comes back, I'm not going to put pressure on him.
Uh-oh.
You want me here next week? You want
I
me here
do.
Easter Sunday? I'm here. Let's go.
Easter Sunday.
Let's go.
I'll bring some jelly beans.
Hey, T Foss.
What?
We got another commitment too, man.
Broder?
Yeah.
I like
thought
the
Broder
crew.
was done with us.
I like the crew.
So you come
Put
back.
Willie D on the couch. We got it. Yeah, you guys, come on.
So we got the crew.
And we still got space to be able to bring in those guests that we were talking about behind the scenes.
But I want something from this man next time he's on this show, which is next week, correct?
Yeah, I'll be here Easter.
Millen Man March.
Oh, boy. All right.
You were the creator of that thing, and that is in Lions history. I want to know the backstory about why you did it, what you went through, as much as you can. Some stuff you can't talk about, but let us in as much as you can.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was. I can't believe it was 20 years ago, but
Well, let me poll one of our young people. Hey, do you know what the Millen Man March was?
I know what it is, but I don't know the details, the
Okay.
stories behind it. What led to it?
I don't either. Kool-Aid, do you know what the Millen Man March is?
I do remember the Millen Man
Okay.
March. I remember, listen, there was a time where, and this might sound crazy, Lions games got blacked out. Like, it was
Yeah.
crazy. Millen actually, when they say football is a cash cow, doesn't matter, Millen found a way to transcend that. And I remember that the people, they banded together, and they decided that they were going to have this march to basically protest. I didn't know, however, though, that Sean Belegian has something to do with this origin.
That's his fault.
Look at that spot.
No, bro.
there's a funny story with that too that Terry and I were talking about before the show starts. But I'm not going to pay that man any more attention.
And to show you how we've come as a society, you know what people used to do when the Lion games were blacked out? Drive to Toledo.
True story.
Yeah.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
you could get
Yep.
in Grand Rapids.
Yep. There was a place when my career started in Toledo. There was a place right near the Glass Bowl called Arnie's, and it was chock full of Detroit Lions fans. Chock full of Detroit.
Go down
Lions
there and
fans.
it's on TV.
Yeah, from where I lived, you could get to Arnie's in about 55 minutes from where I lived. But a lot of people did it.
And the messed up thing was the Silverdome was 80,000. Was 80,400. That's a huge stadium. So in Chicago, you could get $65,000. $65,000 is a sellout. They show their games. In Detroit, you get 78,000 people.
Gosh.
Didn't sell out. The games were blacked out.
The best thing in the world, though, is when you got that late report, and the Detroit News would always do this. Like, we were a Detroit News house, and I was fortunate to write for them for a couple of years. But when you got that, the Metro Detroit Ford dealers bought up the remaining tickets, and you were like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to buy a Ford. I'm 14, but I'm going to buy a Ford.
Now,
I
me,
was
brother,
young
I go
too,
buy some
but I
furniture.
remember that when the games weren't blacked out, I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah,
I get to
and
watch
Big
the
Boy,
lights.
Big Boy did it too.
Yeah.
I'm going to get myself the Big Boy combo.
Or the what's that? The Brawny Lad.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna buy one, or I'm gonna buy
Swiss Miss.
buy me a little couch because our van came through.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Oh, how times have changed, huh?
That's amazing. It's amazing. So, hey, it's fun, guys. Thanks for
I
having
had
us.
This
fun.
is cool.
Great. All right. Are we done?
I think we're done.
Okay.
we went a little
Everybody,
bit over time, but we also
The
started
Lions
just a little
Weekly
bit late.
Update. Terry Foster, the Lefty Broder. This is bad Shawnee Brown, the baddest man in the whole damn town. Thank you.
Let's go.